Hi, I'm Tony. Welcome to Sports Bike Shop's review of the RST Pro Series Paragon 6 heated gloves. These RST Paragon 6s are our most popular heated gloves. They've picked up 175 customer reviews as we record this, which is 3 times more than any other heated gloves, and 130 of those riders gave a 5-star rating with their review. Other gloves have better average ratings, but none of those have more than 10 customer reviews. So there's a lot more weight of opinion behind these gloves. If you're after a comparison of the different options, our top 5 heated glove video will give you that. But this is the video if you want more detail on these gloves and what I discovered when I wore them out on the road. Okay, let's quickly run through the construction. The palm section is mostly leather with reinforcements on the heel of the palm and where your hands grip the handlebars. The back of the hand combines textile and leather with a hard knuckle protector and articulation at the fingers and also the base of the thumb. The restraint is a wrap across the back of the hand and there's an elastic drawstring to pull the cuff tight. For riding in rain, there are visor wipes on the forefingers of both left and right gloves. And in terms of protection, they meet the CE standard at the basic level 1 with the KP designation afterwards showing that they've got properly rated knuckle protection. On the inside, there's a Sinaqua waterproof membrane to keep out rain and also a Thinsulate warmth liner. Some customer reviews say that liner makes the gloves too thick, but by the standards of winter gloves in general, I'd say these aren't all that bulky. The thing to bear in mind is that an unlined heated glove would just radiate its heat into the atmosphere and it would just defeat the whole object. The heated section of these gloves covers the fingers and the back of the hand, which you can see from the thermal imaging footage that we shot recently. The button on the back of the hand is what controls the heat. A long press turns them on, and they start up in the hottest mode, which is indicated by the red light. A short press then puts them into the middle heat mode, which is shown with this half red, half green light. That isn't the easiest colour to pick out, and I would find it easier if this had a more distinctive colour. If you press again, then you'll get a green light to show that we're now in the lowest heat setting. I like the button's location as you can get to it even when the jacket sleeve is over the cuff. Power comes from a pair of 7.4 volt batteries, which each have a capacity of 2000 milliamp hours. RST say these will last around 4 hours in the lowest heat setting and 2 hours in the highest setting. I tested this pair by leaving them outside in the cold and monitoring when the batteries ran out. The batteries lasted 1 hour and 55 minutes on the hottest setting, 2.5 hours on medium, and 3 hours and 20 minutes on low. It was around 5 degrees Celsius when I did those tests, so it's quite a challenging environment for any battery, but it's the sort of temperatures that we really want these gloves to work in. The batteries are the only form of power. There's no option to connect to these gloves to your bike battery and have the heat last all day. The good thing with these though is that spare batteries are available for £60 a pair, so you can get another set and extend your riding time if you need to. The batteries tuck into pouches at the cuff. The zips are water resistant, but the pouches themselves aren't waterproof. RST's instruction sheet in the box recommends taking the batteries out when you're riding in the rain, which obviously means these become unheated gloves. Now, I didn't find that instruction until after I'd already ridden in a lot of rain, and having done that, I had no problem at all with the batteries or the connectors. But I ride with my gloves tucked inside my jacket most of the time, and I'll absolutely always do that when it's raining. I'd suggest making sure you do the same when you're wearing these gloves in the wet to protect the batteries and the connectors. I had no drama fitting these gloves inside the jacket cuff as the batteries are pretty slim, but if the cuffs on your jacket are very tight, then you may struggle, as even slim batteries like these will always add some bulk. Now, I think most owners out there are already finding a solution, or maybe they're avoiding riding in the rain at all. We've sold a lot of these gloves and our returns team tell me there is no problem at all with water damage. Okay, I should probably talk about the heat. I'm just going to say it, these gloves don't get as hot inside as some heated gloves. For our top 5 video that we did recently, I wore several pairs for a ride in 7-degree temperatures with a thermocouple measuring the temperature inside the left glove while I rode. On the highest setting, these showed an internal temperature of 22 degrees, which is about 10 degrees down on the warmest gloves in that guide. But I don't think that gives the whole picture. I wore these gloves for several 1-hour rides in cold conditions and they kept my hands very comfortably warm. The coldest of those rides was down to 4 degrees and I was comfortable on just the middle heat setting for the first 40 minutes on the road. I changed to the highest setting just on the right glove for the last 20 minutes and that kept me at a comfortable temperature. Now, I don't know about you, but it always seems to be my right hand that gets cold first. I guess that's because it's easier to move my left hand around while I'm riding and that movement just generates a little bit of heat. Now the day after that I was back on the bike, it was 6 degrees outside now, and now it was absolutely teeming with rain. My hands stayed dry even in that rain onslaught, which is a very good testament to the waterproofing levels of these gloves. The gloves themselves were sodden afterwards, and bike kit always sheds heat faster when it's wet, but the middle heat setting was still good for 40 minutes of riding. This time I turned both gloves up to high for the last 20 minutes of the ride. On that day, the plastic toggle on the end of this elastic drawstring came off in my hand when I was getting ready to ride. I didn't have much time, so I just stuffed the toggle in my pocket and thought I'll sort it out when I get to work. It turned out to be really quick to do that. It's removable anyway, so I could just open it up and clip it back in place. To avoid that happening again, now I pull the elastic where it meets the toggle, just here, rather than pulling the toggle itself. Okay, before I sum up, let's talk about sizing and price. These come in sizes from small to double extra large. The smallest is for hands that measure 7 to 7.5 centimeters across the widest part of the palm, and the largest is for hands that are 11 to 11.5 centimeters by the same measurement. My hands are on the cusp of medium and large normally in gloves, and often the extra lining in winter or heated gloves means I need a large, but in these gloves I wore a medium. And the data from customer returns shows the sizing is pretty accurate as well. Of those that do come back because of size issues, more of those are too big than too small. From my experience and also from that data, I'd go for your normal size, and if you're like me, you're on the cusp of 2 sizes, then I'd go for the smaller of those 2. Right, price, these are listed at £199.99 as we record this, and in terms of battery powered gloves that come with the batteries, that makes these competitive. There aren't many cheaper options, and pretty much all of those are short urban gloves without any armour, or you need to buy the batteries separately. If you're happy to be connected to the bike, then it's worth looking at the Kais G701 and G701S, as they're around the same money, and connecting to the bike tends to give you more heat and also provides it for longer, but then not everyone wants to be plugged into their bike. Right, let's close up, and I'm going to start with some reasons why these might not be the best heated gloves for you. For long journeys, connecting to the bike is always better than pocket batteries because your gloves are going to be heated for as long as you're riding. That's a general point, not a criticism of these gloves in particular. These may also not suit you if you have a particular problem with circulation, as warmer gloves are available, and these might just not get hot enough for you. It's the same if you just want something that's as hot as you can possibly get. Now, I found these did what I expect of heated gloves. They turned journeys that would have been pretty horrible into reasonably pleasant experiences. They kept my hands dry and comfortably warm in some very nasty weather. They're slim enough to fit inside the cuff of the textile jackets that I wore, and I found they gave me good feel on the bike. Now, on hard numbers, they're not the warmest, and I suspect that's down to the relatively thin thermal liner. That means there's a trade-off, and all of us can work out how much feel we're prepared to sacrifice for warmth, and also vice versa. For what it's worth, my personal choice would depend on whether I rode only when I chose to. In an ideal world, I wouldn't ride in conditions below 4 degrees Celsius because personally, I don't get much fun out of that at all. If that was the case, these gloves would suit me perfectly. They're warm enough for those conditions and they're still relatively thin. But sometimes I have to ride when it's colder than that, and I would rather have a pair of warmer gloves for those occasions. And if that means having thicker gloves, then I'll accept that as a trade-off. The only person who knows what's right for you is you. I hope that tells you everything you wanted to know about the RST Pro Series Paragon 6 heated gloves. But if there is anything you'd like to ask or to add, then please pop a comment below. Thanks for watching.